What does it mean to be raising your vibration into higher levels of consciousness? The 5D, for example. So what is vibrational frequency? So the soul incarnates through the various densities, the physical, emotional, mental, and karmic, and as it does so, it tends to fragment. This is where the soul is getting attached to physicality, for example, or in relationships, or conditioning from society, or from our childhood, this kind of thing. And as the soul fragments, then what happens is that creates identity, and an identity that's plugged into the matrix of society in which we live. And really then, the vibration of your beingness is associated, identified with the physical densities of life. For example, it might attach around physical existential matters, where it's concerned about attachment, loss of material goods or material wealth or material support. Or it might fragment around emotional issues in relationship, where a relationship breaks down, for example, and there's a sense of loss and grief about that. Or it might attach on the plane of the intellect due to the conditioning of society and our upbringing. Or else it could be the karmic plane, where we're reliving or re-engaging past life experiences. So this fragmentation causes eddy currents of consciousness to form, and what you might call a lower self, ego identity. And this then determines the vibrational frequency of the being at that point. It's a lower frequency vibration in the lower planes of consciousness. But at some point, the soul comes awake, and you reconnect with the source of all life, and you feel that amazing interconnectivity, peace, tranquility, spaciousness, timelessness, and the simple joy of being. What we need to do is to realize that what we're really engaged upon is not an external journey through life, but an internal one, and that the internal journey is reflecting through the outer circumstances of our life. And as we encounter circumstances that challenge us, they're going to trigger certain buttons and attachments inside where we feel like we want or need a particular outcome in life, or have an attachment to it going a certain way, or attachment in relationship. And so the circumstances are going to trigger those internal buttons. I think I've got a bee that's just gone down my shirt. So it's causing a degree of tightness. And as you do that, then that fragment of soul that was identified and attached is liberated. It integrates back into the mainstream of soul and is now flowing again with the mainstream. And so more of that energy can now start rising in consciousness, rising vibration. So it's important that we don't deny the situations and circumstances that come up, even if they're pretty inconvenient at the time. So really, what it is a direct confrontation of everything that comes up, not pushing anything away, not denying anything, but working into all those areas, all those triggers, unwinding through them, letting go, and progressively integrating. And that's then how the soul progressively rises in vibration. It's like a hot air balloon rising, and as it rises internally, it pulls on that tethering. And as it does, it comes active. And then that manifests, reflects into the outer environment and creates mirroring circumstances. So the mirroring circumstances trigger off this internal tightness and conditioning. And if we can let that go, then the fragment of soul will integrate. And steadily then, the soul becomes more integral within our being. And rather than being attached and embedded within these densities, it's kind of like a sponge soaking up water. Rather than being embedded in that way, the soul begins to release itself and expand out of the various densities, expand through them. So now there's more consciousness liberating itself to steadily start rising through the dimensions. And it's beginning, the soul is beginning to animate other frequencies of being. And this is what it means to be raising your vibration. So what kind of practices are going to facilitate you raising your vibration? Well, firstly, being the observer of oneself so that you can start to unravel attachment to the need for an outcome in the material world. And obviously meditation is going to help greatly with that. So you're constantly internally inquiring and feeling the sacred ground of being which is at the core of you. And this becomes more and more of your reason for being rather than requiring something, some kind of outcome in the externals. So meditation is crucial for that. And of course, breathing meditations, but also the meditations you wouldn't necessarily expect to be so, like dance, like movement, and deep consciousness body work. Of course, yoga and Tai Chi and these kinds of things. But there's also purifying your life, getting rid of excess distraction through social media and this kind of thing, or clutter. And purifying your diet, that's going to be crucial too, because the soul gets stuck in the denser vibrations. And what you need to do is relinquish, let go of that. And so purification of diet is going to allow the vibration of the soul to permeate through more strongly. And really what you infuse, put into your consciousness, what do you watch, what do you engage in, what do you fill up with? And really it's all about emptying out, of course. So here are some simple methods then, simple but effective, and not always easy, but here are some simple effective methods to progressively integrate soul and raise your vibration. At some point, you come to realize that you're living in two worlds, not one. There's the lower self that you have been interconnected through, where the ego has been active, and that plugged into society. But then now there's the higher self, and the higher self is interconnecting with everything around you through signs and synchronicity, through inner guidance, through intuitions, through higher dimensional knowings. And so you're more responding to the deeper meaning of life rather than the lower densities. And so you get to realize you're living in two worlds, not one. And that's when your vibration begins to settle in the middle realm. If that's your destiny, if that's your pull, and that is the destiny of humanity at this time, then it begins to settle in those densities. And now you're living in this world, but it's like you're not of the world anymore. You are reading it on a different plane of consciousness, everything has a deeper meaning and a message that really is reflecting something back to you about who and what you're being and what you can be. It's because everything is about self-realization. So that's what the reflections are showing you, and you're reading that, you're picking that up as an internal frequency, feeling, vibration, and so you're working now more on that plane of consciousness, although still here. Now at some point there will be the shift, the completion of the shift, which is the breakdown of the physical and the transmutation, the transformation into the middle realm, the 5th, 6th, 7th densities. At this point, the physical is literally going to break down and fall away. It's not that the physical is raising its vibration into 5D consciousness. If you put 5D consciousness through every cell of this physical body, it would likely explode. So it's not about raising the frequency of this body. It's about shifting your frequency internally. And so as the shift completes and the lower densities are cleansed, which is what is unfolding and happening now, then you carry on, the physical falls away, and you carry on in the spirit light body, but in the middle realm. So progressively your vibration rises as your soul consciousness expands into the higher dimensions. And then ultimately, the physical will fall away with the great cleansing, the great purification that is coming to the earth. The physical will fall away, and you continue on in the higher dimensional vehicles, in the spirit light body, for example, in the 5th, 6th, 7th densities. You're now in the new paradigm.